Okay, looks like we are live. Welcome everyone. This is the May 2016 live sale. It's 2 p.m. Saturday, so if you're watching this and it's not 2 p.m. Saturday Eastern, where it is, wherever you are probably watching the rebroadcast and not participating live. Every now and again, I have some folks start just chatting in the comment section, and it's not actually live. So, what is going on? Let's see. Let's start off by just tossing the rules up there, kind of go over this. If you wanted to participate just in the chat session, you can just do so on the YouTube site. However, if you did want to purchase some of the corals that are on the live sale, you have to go to tidalgardens.com/livesale, or you can just go to tidalgardens.com. There's a link to that page. In the top left, there's like a blinking red record light. Just click on that guy and it'll take you to all the items. What we have going on today is just under 200 items. We have 195, so that should probably take us the full 3 hours, I'm guessing. Depends on how quickly we move and how chatty I am, I guess. So, like I said, welcome everyone. I should go over shipping. Shipping is a $39.99 flat rate, and it's free over $250. Every single time you check out, make sure to select local pickups / live sale, and that makes it so that you don't get charged multiple times for shipping if you decide to purchase individual items. And it's a kind of a good idea to purchase the items individually, because you only get the item when you've completed the checkout process. Merely putting it into your shopping cart doesn't reserve the item. So if you have any questions about that, let me know in the little chat session there, and I will try to answer it. So let's see. It's always interesting to read where people are from. I see Jenica is from Morocco. That's the first time that I've seen Morocco show up on stream. You know, we've had Germany. We've had a bunch of different places in the European Union. We've had Afghanistan, Singapore, all different types of places. So yeah, really interesting to see just how far and wide our reach is, I guess. Okay. Yeah, and sound check. Do I need to turn up the volume or anything like that? Let me know. Okay. So we have been crazy busy the past several weeks here. There has been a bit of travel, so I did a bunch of videos, or how many videos did I do? 3 videos on my trip to Japan. But then when I got back, it was only like 3 or 4 weeks, and I was right back out on the road. I went with a few friends to New Orleans. We took some video, but I didn't actually publish anything about that trip. But it was kind of like a long weekend trip. Got back and then started into some major plumbing projects. There's a video or two about how we redid a lot of return pumps using Ecotech Vectras, and redoing a skimmer pump, and just like all the different plumbing projects, like really kind of set a whole bunch of other things back. Like my writing hasn't been going on, and doing a lot of video publishing hasn't gone on. So hopefully in this coming week there's going to be plenty of opportunity to catch up on a lot of that. So anyway, let's get started. First coral up here is strawberry pseudo-coronactis. So pseudo-coronactis are actually a type of corallomorph. So they're a mushroom, kind of like a discosoma or rhodactis, except these guys are a little bit more carnivorous, I guess. The small strawberry ones don't tend to be any real risk of taking down like a crab or a fish or anything like that. They're usually just hitchhikers that show up underneath rocks. So I have an inkling that they're probably non-photosynthetic, and you just kind of have to stay on top of feeding. But this little guy is probably 1/4 inch in size. It's a fairly small one, but since we've been very active feeding it, it's definitely grown. So anyway, cool little guy there. Next up, let's go to number 2. It's a second strawberry pseudo-coronactis. When is the 25K special coming out, Brian? It's in the works. We have some good questions, and also if there's some good questions that I receive in chat today, I'll make a note and see about answering those as well. It's hard to find a lot of really good questions. We solicited some questions for like a Q&A, like a 25,000 subscriber Q&A, and it was hard to find 10 really good questions to answer, but we found some good ones. So again, we're kind of behind on a lot of our publication stuff, so I want to do one video on substrate and substrate selection, and then I'm probably going to do that 25K subscriber video, which also coincides with 4 million views. So yeah, it's a pretty good milestone. I think the last time we ever did like a real Q&A video was when I had 2,000 subscribers, and so we haven't done one in a really long time. So next up, it's a tricolor, Oeolophilia. This is a type of a brain coral, and you might have noticed that when the light changes like that, what we're doing is we're shining a little LED flashlight to kind of give you an idea of what it would look like under actinics, and to see if it can bring out some fluorescence. We were going to try something different for this show, because the little flashlight, it's pretty tiny. I think it's like a little 5-watt LED, but we had just grabbed like an entire Reef Bright strip, which has like 24 LEDs on it, and just we experimented with shining that on these corals, but it just completely washed out the image, and it wasn't really all that helpful. So flashlight it is. Next up, this is a snow-capped pectinia, and these guys, so pectinia are a large polyp stony coral. They kind of have a very irregular growth, where they kind of form like a main flat body, but then they send up these spires. And this particular one has like has white tips, and that's the snowcap. The main body portion has some orange and green fluorescence. All right, let's go to number 5. This is a rainbow pectinia. And these guys have all different types of fluorescence going on, even like some sparkle coloration there. Reading chat here. So it's always interesting to get people from Germany checking in, because for the longest time Germany had weird broadcasting laws, so all YouTube live streams and stuff like that were blocked. So it's interesting that there's all sorts of folks from there that are able to watch the show now. Did you get your camera fixed? Yes. So last live sale, it just looked really goofy, because when I got back from Japan, the lens that I was using for pretty much everything I did over there was more like a wide-angle walk-around lens, and it had gotten just jammed into that mount. So I would hit the eject button and it just wouldn't do anything. And all the tips that I saw to fix that involved like ripping the lens apart essentially, and they were always with very inexpensive lenses that had plastic mounts. Well, my lens wasn't an inexpensive lens, it has a giant metal mount, and so there's no way that I'm ripping a metal mount out. So I sent it back to Canon. This is one reason why a lot of professionals end up going with Canon, is their service is ridiculously good. So basically you give them a call, explain the situation, they give you like an address to send the camera to, and within about 72 hours it comes back fixed. And in my case, they didn't even charge anything for it. So got it out there, got it back, and so yeah, the eject button's still a little bit gummy, but now at least it works, and so we're able to use the correct lens. Happy about that. All right, next up, number 6. We've moved off of the Pectinias, and now we're into the Platygyras. A little out of focus there. There we go. So Platygyra, kind of similar to an Oeolophilia, are kind of like a maze type brain. These are the official common name is a brain worm coral, I believe. And they have like these long channels with small mouths in them. Platygyra tend to be a little bit more sensitive than a lot of the other LPS. So if you have like some kind of a little bit of neglect going on and your water chemistry is a bit off, you might just have like a receding event where like half of their body just turns white and has like exposed skeleton. So they can be a touch sensitive, so you want to kind of make sure that you're up on your water chemistry. All right, number 7. This is a toxic green Platygyra. And I think that the flashlight really helps bring out a lot of different fluorescence under actinic. So you can get an idea just under different types of lighting. So you may or may not have seen, but Miss Saltwater Tank, who's in chat currently, she is another YouTuber. She had a major tank crash that had gone on. I think her house lost power, and just for hours of not having power, a lot of times you get like low oxygen in your actual aquarium, and that'll cause a whole bunch of like fish and corals to suffocate, and an immediate like ammonia spike will kill off even more stuff. And it's always like a real downer when that sort of thing happens, and it's almost like most people go through that reevaluation period as to whether they even want to set back up again. And she and I were talking about that, and this is probably like something that everybody's going to have to go through at some point, but always keep in mind that sometimes it is a blessing in disguise, because you can kind of use it as an opportunity to shed off a lot of the mistakes you made in your previous setup and just do the whole thing again better, or different, but always learning from the past setup and just avoiding all of those kind of irksome mistakes in setting up that you did the time before. So, okay, let's go on to number 8 real fast here. So number 8 is green pinstripe Platygyra. So back in 2007, we had a pretty bad blizzard here, and what happened was I was visiting my parents, and it snowed so bad that I literally couldn't leave for like 2 days. And in those 2 days, we got about 3 feet of snow that piled up on top of the greenhouse, and it blocked the exhaust vent for our furnace at the time. And what happened after that was when the furnace's fan kicked on, it just created this backdraft that blew out the pilot light. So this greenhouse went unheated for 3 days in the middle of winter. Needless to say, everything in this whole place died. Like, there was no tidal gardens left. And I was all ready to quit after that. Let's go to number 9. It's a toxic green Platygyra. So, and we have a backup generator, but it doesn't matter if the furnace's pilot light blew out. And I mean, like, there's electricity, the fan's running, there's no heat. So yeah, I mean, I was definitely all ready to check out. I was like, okay, time to just go get a desk job or something like that. But it was actually my parents said, you know what, let's just give this one more try. We'll build it a little bit better and just see how it goes. And I can safely say that Tidal Gardens now is a million times better than it was back in 2007, like before everything crashed. So yeah, I mean, it sucks now, but there is always some benefits to sticking with it. I mean, that decision to restart this business, like, completely changed my life. I mean, otherwise I would be stuck doing like being a lawyer or something, which is not as great as it sounds. That sounds like first world problem stuff. Lawyers have the highest rates of drug and alcohol abuse, and that is not a mistake. There's a reason for that. It's not that nice of a lifestyle. Number 10. It's a neon green candy cane when we get there. See, a lot of really, I guess, prestigious jobs are so incredibly stressful that they just like wreak havoc on your health and stuff like that. So you kind of have to make some decisions with work-life balance. Kind of makes me think of Japan. It's like, it's a great place to visit, but if you ever actually wanted to stay and work there, they have some serious work-life balance issues where, you know, people stay at the office for ridiculous hours to the point where the train system cannot physically get you back home. So they stay in like these little capsule hotels, which look like just a little pod for you to sleep in, because you were working so hard you couldn't make it home before transportation stopped. And then you kind of like shuffle back to the office bright and early the next day. It's insane. So yeah, kind of have to like, I don't know why I'm giving out life lessons here, but I'm so glad that Tidal Gardens is available for me, so I can do stuff like live sales and just hang out and, you know, eat candy. Yeah, thank you, Robbie. By the way, I didn't introduce everybody. So Robbie currently is on chat. Michael is operating the camera, and we have a new person, Luke, who just wanted to come and hang out. And I was thinking he would be the person to do the light with the new you know, like the big long giant fixture, but decided not to. So he's just using the little flashlight. We make so much great use of our people here. He's on flashlight duty for 3 hours. All right. So next up is the pinstripe candy cane. Tony, what size are these? This is my first time on this site. These guys, if you look at the frag plug underneath, that frag plug is roughly 3/4 of an inch. So this particular one, number 11, is 2 polyps, and the smaller polyp, probably 1/4 inch, larger polyp, a little bit bigger than that. Next up, number 12. This is a pinwheel candy cane, and just because of the way it's situated, it's difficult to see, but it has bright green eyes. So, Luke, if you could put the flashlight back on there, you can kind of see it just a little bit. So if you can imagine, it's got 2 polyps, and they have like a bright green center. Did anyone see the feather coming out of the top of this candy cane? What is that? It's probably a feather duster. Yeah, tiny little feather duster worms. Number 13. So this is a red and green blastomusa merletti. When it comes to a lot of these like worms and things like that, it kind of depends on which system many of these corals were grown in, because there's certain fish that love to eat those things. For example, like butterfly fish, our copper band, his system would never ever ever have like a feather duster worm. That's probably their favorite thing in the whole world to eat. We use them for aptasia control, but given the choice, it'll always eat feather dusters first. Angel Ramos, how was Okinawa? I really, really, really love Okinawa. My biggest regret is that it wasn't able to stay there more than a few days. A lot of our time constraint was just around the schedule of my travel companions, because again, going back to the whole lawyer thing, they're lawyers and they have to go back to work. They couldn't just like stay out there for 3 weeks like I wanted to do. But I don't know. Hotels are expensive. But I just wanted to be able to go diving there in like 10 different locations. That would have been like a total dream. I am about to go over there for 3 years. Get your scuba diving certification and get out there as much as you can. That's what I would recommend. Next up, number 14. This is a green wellsea, red and green wellsea. So blastomusa in general are a very low light coral. They don't tend to do that well if you give them too much light. The difference between the wellseas and the merletes, they're obviously they're different species. The wellseas tend to have larger polyps. They tend to have slightly better coloration in my opinion, but they do grow a bit more slowly and tend to be a little bit less hardy than merleti. I mean, merleti, I guess if there was a beginner-friendly blastomusa, that would be it. One thing that I kind of hope to do in the future is to do more diving and record it kind of like how I did my Okinawa dive video, because I think that over time, getting kind of like a library of, where you see these corals in their natural habitat will be very helpful, just in the way that we take care of stuff. Let's go on to number 15 before I forget. Because, for example, plate corals, we're going to see plate corals in a bit here, but for the longest time I kept them on like a sand substrate, because I knew that they were supposed to be on the bottom of the tank, and I just kind of assumed that sand would be like the least likely thing to damage them because it's softer and whatnot. But in the wild, they're in like extremely chunky substrate, like basically full-size dead coral skeletons. That's what they want to be on. And a lot of the ones that I kept on sand didn't do well. They just developed infections and things like that. So, what kind of makes sense when you just kind of think about it doesn't necessarily translate to what reality is for certain corals. So kind of seeing what the natural habitat looks like, you can get a much better idea. Number 16. This is an orange Fungia plate, speaking of. So the other thing that I noticed was, and you can see it in the Manza Beach, Okinawa Manza Beach video, is how incredibly resilient corals are during low tide, and how resilient clams are in particular. Like, I was completely blown away by how there's these clams that are just like Tridacta maxima that are just open in broad, just open air, and just weren't bothered by anything. Whereas we struggle mightily to keep those things alive in our tanks. It's like we're doing something very wrong. Okay, next up, number 17. Jason, do Stylophora in your experience require lower light, similar to hammer and torch? They seem to like it in lower lighting and closes with higher lighting. That's interesting. I would say that in our experience, they tend to do better in higher light. They certainly color up a lot nicer. So this is the green helmet Fungia that we're seeing, number 17. And yes, I'm sorry, but we don't have any clams yet. I still haven't found a really good supplier. And I'm not 100% sure that our system is that great for clams just yet. I didn't buy metal halide or anything like that. Okay, let's go to 18. So number 18 is a walking dendro. It is pretty interesting in that you have this main core that kind of looks like a Duncan, a little bit like an Elegance, but and it's kind of figure 8 shaped, so the second lobe is kind of hanging out behind it. But on the underside there's like this little hole, and in that hole lives a peanut worm. And so when you set this guy down on the substrate, that peanut worm will actually scoot this guy around. Matthew Leary, any Acans today? Yes, there are a few. Number 19. is our golden Leptoseris. I want to angle it up just a little bit. Just a touch, there we go. A little bit better. So our Leptoserises are growing like gangbusters, and so that's why the prices of them are falling. I've kind of said this before, but this stuff used to be like hundreds of dollars per inch. Not that long ago, like with less than 5 years ago. And you can see just like how well they've taken to captivity. Timothy, can you make another nanotank series? I really don't like nanotanks, but everybody else here seems to. Yeah, I'm a huge hater. Robbie's setting one up. He likes it. I'm not into it so much. We'll see. I might do something. Number 20, it's another Leptoseris. So when it comes to Leptoserises, I'm not sure if these are quote-unquote LPS or SPS, and it kind of sheds light on how, I guess, unhelpful that classification really is. It's a coral, it has small polyps, but you really can't infer any kind of care requirements from that. And this coral in particular, assuming let's just say that it is an SPS, whatever you think you need for an SPS, I pretty much guarantee you don't need for this coral. So this guy can be kept in low flow, low light. It can be kept in medium to high lighting and high flow. It's a very adaptable coral. So yeah, it kind of depends. I think that as we improve as hobbyists, a lot of care tips are gonna be a lot more species specific and just coral specific rather than kind of like lumping them all together in big categories. Okay, rant over. Next up is going to be a jack-o'-lantern Leptoseris. And for those new to the program, when the screen goes black like that, there's nothing wrong. It's just we need to move the camera, and instead of getting everybody motion sick, we just put the lens cap right back on and then take it off when we're all set. Olga, plate corals are easier to take care of than Heliofungias. Yeah, Heliofungia has a notoriously bad reputation in the hobby. Talking with my mouth full here. It's really common for them to do fine for like months. Look super healthy, very well extended, and it's a beautiful coral. And then literally overnight it'll be dead. And that is super common with that particular coral, to the point that a lot of stores never order that coral. And what ends up, and the only way that they get it is if the supplier didn't have a particular coral that was on the wish list. So instead of just, just saying we don't have that coral, they just send you everything else. And in exchange for the thing that they didn't have, they send a bunch of Heliofungia. And it's just because nobody orders that stuff. It simply dies in your care. So, yeah, I wouldn't even recommend getting a Heliofungia personally. Like, I don't think that we understand very well what the deal is with them and why they don't do well. Okay, next up, 22. Did you see any home hobby reef tanks in Japan? I didn't. I don't know if it's a big thing there or not. I mean, I've seen stuff in magazines and things like that, but culturally, I don't know if it's a thing over there. I think they're much more into things like koi, a lot of freshwater stuff. But then again, I didn't go into a lot of people's homes, so not really sure. But let's see, what was I thinking? Lost my train of thought. I was going to say something about Heliofungia. Can't remember. Ginger Gamer, what filter do you use for this tank? The only thing that's running on it is a calcium or a protein skimmer to remove some dissolved organics. We do water changes fairly regularly, and there's a calcium reactor running to help maintain some of the calcium and alkalinity. Okay, next up we have an ultra Leptoseris. And an ultra Leptoseris is slightly different than a jack-o'-lantern in that there's a lot more green. Dan, what are you eating today? I'm being bad because Robbie got some candy and just set it out, and so now I'm munching on some peach rings from the gas station. Okay, number 24. Second ultra. Number 25. It's a green Spartan Leptoseris. Oh, now I remember what I was going to say. First of all, certain things do poorly in aquariums. That's one thing. But the next time you go walking on a beach or something like that, on someplace that has corals, pay attention to how heavy a thing of coral skeleton weighs. And compare that to like a dead skeleton that you might have from your reef tank. There's a really good chance that there's a big difference in the weight. So the corals that we grow here have super light, brittle skeletons, whereas the stuff coming out of the ocean, it's like extremely dense and heavy. And I'm really genuinely curious as to why that is. And I'm gonna guess that a lot of it might just happen to do with availability of certain chemicals. But at the same time, you know, our salt is really good at replicating seawater. So there's something else going on to make these growth patterns just like so different, and the density of their skeletons that much different. 26, it's another green Spartan Leptoseris. Here we go. Okay, so that was our 4 different types of Leptoseris. Let's move on to number 27. This is a pink tip frogspawn. So we haven't had an alcoholic live show in a very long time. That might change next month. It's not going to be this show for sure, but it's possible, because the next live show, it's not official, but it's probably going to be on June 18th, and that's my birthday, and I'm having some people over, and it depends on who I'm around as to how much I'm going to drink, and unfortunately in this particular case, those folks drink a lot. So that could be a very interesting live show. Mark your calendars, June 18th. Okay, let's go to the next coral. This is a much larger pink tip frogspawn. How many inches would you say that is across? 3 inches perhaps? 3 or 4 inches across. Can we back up the cart just slightly to try to get a full view of that? Because like we're really close. You guys are in Ohio. Do you only sell online, or do you have a storefront too? We don't have a storefront per se, but we do have visitors by appointment. So this past trip to New Orleans was with that same group of friends from Michigan, and we had a shot, really insane. Let's go to 29, which is a yellow tip frog spawn. One of the places that we went to is a fancy restaurant in the Garden District called Commander's Palace, and they had, so okay, imagine it is a fine dining restaurant, and they have 25-cent martinis. 25 cents. And it's like limit 3, but trust me, 3 is enough. And that's how we started the morning. It was a good time, but at the same time, it's like towards the end of that trip, it's like I feel like half of my body had just died. Can I see this coral again under the actinic? I'm kind of curious. I kind of missed it. There we go. Yeah, you can see like the yellow fluorescence coming out in the tips there. Okay. Let's move on to number 30. So Miss Saltwater Tank, my birthday is 2 days after yours. We're gonna turn 21 together. Oh, good grief. So these, these Duncans are looking really, really good right now. I'm sort of surprised. Yeah. Let's go to number 31. This is one of the blue Duncans. It's kind of more of like a cobalt color, I would say, like a sky blue. How big is this Duncan? Each of those polyps are probably an inch across.
Inch and a half, I'd say.
Inch and a half. Yeah. Yeah, they're doing very, very well. And some of these guys were recently cut too, but even where the cutting is, a polyp is starting to grow. Olga, I love frogspawn, but strangely I have bad luck with them. You know, a lot of it has to do with importing, I think, because whenever we buy them from like pretty much fresh out of the ocean, they don't tend to do that well, and it's always a big risk for us. So in situations like that, we really, really prefer buying it from local hobbyists that have been growing it for a long time, because it's almost they survive practically without fail. I don't really recall ever having any issues with ones that we've bought locally. Okay, let's see. 32. It's a smaller Aussie blue Duncan. So originally when I priced this guy out at $15, the idea was that it was a single polyp. But if you look down at its base towards the left, if you scoot it down just a little bit, Michael, you can see that little guy coming out. And also you can see that fresh cut on the right, that's already turning into another polyp. So that's a pretty nice piece. Just saying. I might be, I don't know, I might be, what's the word? Yeah, Robbie wants that one, so he might buy it. Have you ever had brown jelly in any of your tanks? Yes, not in the last couple years, but yeah, I have had it before. Brown jelly is an infection that hits certain LPS. In particular, I've seen it on things like hammers, torches, frog spawn, that sort of thing. Occasionally an Elegance will get it. It's a pretty aggressive bacterial infection, and some people have had some success dipping the corals in iodine, like a Lugol's iodine solution. And it's whatever the instructions are on the bottle, but I think it's something like 40 drops per gallon. And you might want to make it a little bit stronger for that particular type of dip. But it's one of those things where you dip it every day for like a week, and if it's still alive at the end, it might live, but it's a very aggressive infection. Okay, so is this guy number 33? Okay, yeah. So this is a hammer coral. You can see little buds at its base already, so it's got multiple heads coming in. Okay. Number 34. When I originally made a label for this, I called it a green tip, but it looks a little bit more like a hybrid where it's got like both the purple and green going on. Yeah, I'd probably call this more of a hybrid. Out of curiosity, Michael, what's the ISO set at?
Right now, I popped it up to 8,000 on the last one, and for this one.
Okay, you might want to back down on the aperture and bring down the ISO a little bit, because I can kind of tell I'm getting a little bit of noise. And just work the aperture down, so make it like f4 or something. There we go. Better. Cinema camera tips, people. We have to, there's so many skills to learn here. Okay, let's move on to 35. This is a neon green Aussie hammer. It's got a little bit of purple hybrid stuff going on as well, but you can see the green is far more intense. So as far as Australian versus Indonesian hammers, the Australian ones, you kind of see how densely packed they kind of look in comparison to the ones that have, I guess, like a lot longer tentacles. Also, the Australian ones tend to be a lot more slow growing, and they don't just bud off additional heads that I've seen. Whereas the Indonesian ones, they replicate heads very quickly, and so as a full colony, they tend to grow a lot faster. All right, 36. And you might have to back up the entire cart just a little bit to get it into frame. There we go. So this is an Indonesian one with bright yellow tips. And as you can see the fluorescence under actinic there. Do you know how long it takes for heads to grow? Once you actually have the little head form, and they're tiny. You saw it maybe like 5 corals ago under one of the hammers, but it's probably 3 months for that little head to turn into a full-size head. So yeah, Miss Saltwater Tank was saying on social media that she got her car broken into and somebody stole her purse, and that really sucks. There's only been one time where I had anybody break into my car. I was actually visiting my parents, and I parked my car outside of their house, and something just seemed a little different. Like, they didn't smash the windows or anything like that, but yeah, it looked a little different. So I opened the car door, hop inside, and I looked down, and like the little plastic around my radio was like broken off, and then sitting right next to it is like a bag full of tools. So these people steal my radio. I must have like gotten up too early and just gotten to my car or something like that, and they had to run off, but I literally got all their stuff, and they didn't actually steal anything from me. So I don't know, I think I made out. I still have those tools in case anybody needs to break into a car. Okay, next up, 37. It's gonna take a sec because we have to rearrange things slightly. But it is going to be one of the expensive corals. It's a pink spotted Acanthophilia.
Hey, you just want to take this off entirely.
Nope. We have to do so many like wacky things here. If you could see like a behind the scenes of when we're actually doing the live sale, it's kind of a goofy little operation we have here, because essentially we're trying to make a studio inside of a greenhouse, and it's not always the easiest thing sometimes. So we have like curtains going up and curtains coming down, all sorts of fun stuff. Angel, Angel, quick question. What would you recommend for my first coral ever? It's super subjective as to which one you can start with. A lot of it's just going to be depending on what you like, as long as you just avoid stuff that is like has known problems. Like we have certain Goniopora, for example, that have done well. There's also a lot of Goniopora that do really, really poorly, so I would try to avoid Goniopora in general. So just stay away from stuff that has pretty unfavorable track records, and just stick to stuff that you like. There you go. Did I have a typo? Oh, no, you had a typo. If you wanted to stay with the really, really, really easy stuff, I think that most people would say soft corals, mushrooms, that sort of thing. But again, it depends on what you like. For these really big guys, we can back up the camera just a little bit. I mean, these Acanthophilia are probably 6 to 8 inches across. You should have a live stream of your live stream. Funny you mention that. If I ever did get a second camera, I would do something like that. I would probably have like a multi-camera thing, and I would really want the multi-camera thing to have to be able to do guests and stuff like that. Excuse me. But it would also be interesting just to kind of have a completely different view that we could just like cut to every now and again. It's a show. All right, let's go on to number 38, which is a gold flake Acanthophilia, and he must have been eating something recently. So this guy's really slick. I don't know, we've had this one on the show before, I think, but I don't think at the time that it had this deep purple coloration. So I really like how it's almost like a black color, and then it has like these gold flakes that are fluorescent. One of the cooler looking like showpiece corals. Definitely not cheap, but it's a showpiece. Peach rings. Okay, next up, number 39. This is an Aussie Elegance. Pink-tipped Aussie Elegance. So, one of the guys that helps out here, he comes a couple times a week. His name's Sean, and he's never been to one of these live shows. He's never helped out during the live show, and I don't even think he watches the live shows, to be perfectly honest. It's probably a good thing, because he's also my personal trainer, and he'd be very, very disappointed with me just eating candy for 3 hours. Did you hit that one with the actinic already? That particular coral?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Can we see it again? Wow, I can barely see it. Wow, that's weird. Can you shine it like right at it?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Does the Acanthophilia and signarina grow? Yeah, they do. They typically get a lot more fleshy and larger, but the skeleton doesn't grow quite that much. And can you back up the camera just a little bit to get an idea of the whole size? and kind of scoot it a little bit to the right. There we go. This elegance isn't actually that big. It's probably, what, 4 inches at the most?
Yeah.
3.5 to 4 inches. Okay. So there you go. Go on to number 40 then. It's another Australian elegance. This guy seems a little bit more green, and it has purple tips. Yeah, for whatever reason, it's harder to hit these guys with actinic. If you're adventurous, you want to like pull out the really big actinic. See, now I'm curious. So, and whatever, we have time. We're making good time. It hasn't even been 1 hour yet. Actually, we're making terrible time. I can't do math. Our elegance is hard to keep. Generally speaking, it depends entirely on where they're from. I think if you got an Indonesian elegance, it's going to struggle. Typically, those kind of have the problem that Heliofungia have, where after X number of months, they just get this bacterial infection and they're completely dead after that. But the Australian ones like this one, they're practically bulletproof. So I would say that if you got something like this, it's fine even for beginners. Okay. That's perfect. That looks great. All right, let's go on to 41. This is a blood red signarina, and that one will also need some distance. He's huge. Like this one here, fully extended, is at least 8 inches. And I have to apologize. I'm not exactly paying very close attention to chat, so I hope everybody's behaving. Generally speaking, if somebody is going to be trolling, Robbie's the one to troll. He has like a really long fuse when it comes to banning people. I'm like, how's that guy still talking? But oh, I'm gonna vote for poorly. It's gonna go poorly. Okay. Okay. Let's go to 42. This is abysmal worm rock. Little bit over to the right, please. There we go. So abysmal worm rocks are parites. That underlying coral is parites. And the worms themselves, I don't know if they, I get asked this every single time, but do they reproduce? I really haven't counted or anything like that. It's kind of hard to tell because there's so many. Each one of these rocks, who knows, it could have like 50 worms on it. And so if it had 58 one day, would I notice? Not so much. So the coral itself, I think, tends to like a little bit higher light. And unlike a lot of other SPS, what I've noticed is that it occasionally gets like a waxy film that has to be then blown off with like an aggressive current. And I think that's a mechanism that a lot of corals use to dislodge algae that grows on them. Brian Beckman, what might cause a bird's nest to bleach? Very likely it's lighting. A lot of times they don't like extremely high light. Okay. The next coral that will be coming up is a yellow scroll. So this is one of those either tank related or time of year related things. It's practically a purple coral, yet we call it a yellow scroll. I think with a lot more intense lighting, that purple turns the same color as those polyps. We keep these guys in fairly low light, and I was thinking that because it's like summertime, we would be getting more into some of the more summertime colors, which translated means worse. Things typically look worse in the summer. This one would look a lot more yellow. But we've had the strangest weather here in Akron. Like right now, I'm wearing a jacket, a down vest, and a t-shirt underneath. And it's May 21st. And yesterday, it was t-shirt weather, it was in the 70s. Today, it's in the 50s, and it's raining outside. So, and I'm in a greenhouse wearing 2 layers of like jackets, essentially. So, maybe we're not going to see summertime colors for many months. Okay, so let's go to number 44. A larger yellow scroll. I'm following chat just a little bit. One thing I always liked about hippotangs is they have really good temperaments. Like, I've never really seen a hippotang that was like a huge jerk that bullied other fish. They tend to be very happy-go-lucky, and yeah, I kind of like that aspect to them. We have one. We have a single one that we probably got when it was like the size of a dime. He was super tiny, and now he's probably 3-4 inches. All right, let's go to the next coral here. Will the polyps on the yellow scroll get bigger? Not a lot bigger, not that kind. There are other types that do, but that kind tend to have very, very small polyps. Turbinaria, that's the genus of scrolls. Some of them have huge, huge polyps. What are the bubbles on the coral? Yeah, likely just bubbles. We actually had to add in a little bit of salt to bring up the salinity this morning. So some of that just might be, you know, the excess mucus that's still on the corals after a couple hours. All right, next up, number 46. This is a starlight chalice. This one is going to be a hard one to show how great it looks because of the tank that it's currently in. You're getting a lot of, I guess, a lot of neutral lighting, but under just without any other lighting on, just full actinic, all the stuff that you see is purple there is black because it has no fluorescence whatsoever. And all that you see is teal, is like highly, highly fluorescent. So you end up getting a little chalice that looks like a galaxy. One of my favorite chalices. All right, let's move on to number 47. I don't really know the names of these chalices, so we just kind of we're a little bit more descriptive in our naming occasionally. But this is like kind of like a pastel pink colored chalice with bright yellow eyes. All right, next up, the slightly smaller chalice. We've cut these guys a while ago, so you can kind of see their rim has developed where it's healed. Kind of neat because it's actually a rainbow colored rim. Out of curiosity, are any of you people in chat planning on going to MACNA? It's in San Diego this year in September. I'm really on the fence as to whether I'm gonna go. I'm definitely not going to be setting up a booth or anything like that, but I'm considering like making that weekend trip just to attend the event. But I'm really on the fence. So I'm kind of curious. In chat, let me know if you have any plans to go to that trade show. Okay, number 49. It's a golden eye. Focus is slightly off on that one. There we go, a little bit better. Let's go to number 50. Slightly smaller golden eye. So I was looking at plane ticket prices, and it's not that bad, surprisingly. I was looking at flights from Acton, Canton, all the way to San Diego, and it was like $400 round trip. If you need gloves to hold it, because it gets warm, it's not hot. All right. All right, next up, 51. Yeah, like I was saying, it was about $400 round trip, so it's whatever the hotel cost and food is, really. It's not like last time because like I set up a booth at the Washington D.C. MACNA. I think that whole trip altogether was something like $10,000. It was very expensive for me. And so after that, I was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna be a tourist next time. The lies. All right. Next up, 52. I need somebody to pay for my flight out there. Why is nobody offering to send me out there? Right, number 53 is a smaller mean green chalice. So at one time when we first got these corals, we had a different name for them entirely. And it's because you see that area that's slightly teal colored? It was stark white. So there was like a lot of green and a lot of white going on this coral. But a lot of color change since then. We've had it several months now. Okay, let's go to 54. This is a cosmic chalice, and I'm wondering if you could see it on stream. Not quite so easily, but this is one of those chalices that has a really subtle speckle to it, and oftentimes under full actinic, the speckles are highly fluorescent, and the rest of it kind of drops out. So you have a very kind of striking. It's kind of like that starlight chalice where you get a very, very black coral with bright little dots for highlights. All right, next up, 55. This is a red striped chalice. So chalices are kind of a strange thing for us because they tend to be extremely aggressive when it comes to just like physical contact. So they're all from different they're all from a different genus from one another typically. It's a huge category, and so oftentimes their care requirements are all lumped together and stuff, and that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But whenever they touch, they fight to the death. And so a lot of the chalices that we lose tends to be from aggression. But then I see like other people's aquariums, and sometimes the chalices are growing on top of one another. It's really strange as to why like ours get so violent and theirs are like, yeah, whatever. It's no big deal. Let's go to 56. This is a mystery chalice. Probably our most popular chalice. We've been growing these guys forever, it seems. $57. Smaller frag. One of the things I really want is to kind of going back to that whole idea of getting like a fresh start. I'd love to start from scratch, build a completely new building, and with all the stuff that we've learned here over the past 15 or so years, just kind of like reconstruct a very, very different looking system. Like, it never occurs to you when you're building a greenhouse that you would need to have a recording studio. Like that never enters the thought process. You're thinking of like, how many tanks can I fit in? Where's the plumbing gonna go? All that stuff. But nobody thinks, you know what? One day I'll need to record video here. So yeah, just like as times change, it's kind of interesting how many things you would change in an otherwise good working system. So that's kind of like one thing that I would like to see if we can do one day, is to expand and just set up a very, very different looking space. And that should be a fun video to follow along with, just like a build project. Number 58. This is one of the newer guys that we got a few weeks ago. He's been recently cut. It's mostly purple, but then it's got like a little bit of pink and yellow right at the mouth. Okay, let's go on to 59 in a moment. It will be a Hollywood stunner chalice. Yeah, you see chat's completely devolved. But that just goes to my point. Nobody wants a nano tank. So there you go. All right, number 60. So this particular coral, I am not that certain if it's an echinata at all. When we first got it, like the growth pattern was kind of different. The polyps are a lot larger. And it could have been a different species altogether, but at the same time we have another Acan that is an Echinata that has that similar coloration, so we're just kind of like going with it. Okay. So next up, we have 61.
Can you answer Tony?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen that problem. There's an item in the cart that says out of stock, but the dollar amount is still in the total. Go ahead and try to check out regardless. And if the item was already gone, we'll just refund you for that. So, going back to like the shipping and stuff like that, almost every show, somebody accidentally pays for shipping twice or something. So it's not a big deal for us to provide refunds for instances like that. But nobody's ever had that problem before, so I'm wondering if it's one of those problems that kind of takes care of itself. It seems like somebody like purchased it at right around the same time, and so it was like still in your cart during the checkout process, or something like weird little overlap might have happened. Okay, let's go to 62. Micromusas, they are very similar to Acans. It's just a different genus. All right, let's go to 63. So these guys are probably close to an inch across. Okay, let's go to 64. As far as Acans go, I like the rainbow ones the most. I like the ones that have just the most number of colors. There's so many different patterns and stuff that you can get, but just getting all the colors and trying to like maintain that coloration, that's the fun in it. 65. Might have to back up the cart just a little bit for this guy. It's a huge piece. I don't even know how many polyps it has. It's a bunch. Have you ever experienced a single Acan head detaching from the base? Like a polyp bailout situation? I have not seen that. That would be sounding really bad if that were the case. $66. The smaller green pinwheel. Acans are starting to recede and bleach. Sometimes they're sensitive to like infection. Like sometimes they just like come down with like a bug and they start receding. So that's where I would look first. All right, next up, 67. Another one of these rainbow guys. How do you frag an Acan? Well, we just cut them up with a bandsaw. We cut most things up with a bandsaw. Next, 68. Yeah, this is actually is a type of a rainbow as well. It develops a lot. It picks up a lot of coloration on the outer part of the polyp there. Yeah, that's a nice one. I like that one. $69. Small little Acan echinata. So if anybody out there wants to like mix different types of acans, you kind of have to stick with the species. So like different types of Lord Howensis can touch others, but you can't really have a Lord touch an Acan echinata without them fighting pretty aggressively. All right, moving on. Number 70. These are pipe organs. They kind of look like cloves and whatnot, but they develop a kind of like a, I don't know if it's really a skeleton or not, but they have a like a hard base that's red and has these little almost like flutes that kind of look like a pipe organ. They're not the fastest growing things out there, but one key that that tends to help us is to prevent any kind of detritus accumulation on that base, because what you don't want to have happen is for it to start growing algae, because that usually starts choking out all the different polyps. Okay, 71. This is the wintergreen coloration. The first one, the purple coloration, it's almost a white color, whereas this one is much more of a green color. All right, let's go ahead and move to the next coral. Oh, actually, that's, by the way, that is a dragon-faced pipefish. People always ask questions about those guys because they're such hams. So I got them originally because some of our acros had some red bugs, and supposedly these guys do eat red bugs, but yeah, over time, like the red bugs just went away. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that that guy eats them, but he's in a tank now that doesn't even have acros, and we've had a pair of them like that for years. Yeah, so pipefish are a close relative of a seahorse. See, everybody loses their mind when they see a fish. It's funny. Yeah, they're really cool fish though, and surprisingly good swimmers too. Can I buy that pipefish? Unfortunately, no. They're kind of heirlooms now. They're part of the family. Yeah. I always feel like really guilty when I sell fish. I don't know why. They just look at me like I've betrayed them. So I'm not really sure what they eat, because when you watch them, they're definitely picking at something, but I can't see what they're eating. They're eating like super tiny microscopic copepods or something like that. Okay, next up, 73. Did you mess up?
Yeah.
Okay. How low do pipefish? What low flow? I don't think you wanted them in like crashing surge or anything like that, but at the same time, they're surprisingly good swimmers, in my experience. 74. It's a red plating Montipora. Pupfish. Okay, let's go to 75. What's funny though is that I can figure out my fish and corals better than I can figure out my cats. 76. My cats just kind of look at me, and I know one only wants to play and the other one only wants to eat, and that's pretty much all I'm good for. Like, I don't think they care about me one bit outside of that. And of all the people, they really like me because they don't even want to be around anybody else. All right, let's go to 77. You can kind of get an idea of just like the variation that you get with Montipora. I mean, these are all the plating varieties, but there's also encrusting varieties that we're gonna get to, and some branching varieties, and just like pay attention to like the distance between the polyps, like the colors and shapes and textures of the skin. There's all different types of Montipora. '78. Well, actually, we're gonna get away from montis for just a moment. Go through the pavonas. Somebody had Bay Area Reefs asked about using algae as a method of filtration. A lot of people do it. Let's go to 79. Much larger orange pavona. Might have to back up a little bit for that guy. But yeah, when it comes to algae filtration, I would actually like to see an actual experimental design around that, and to kind of measure exactly what's dropping. Just, I mean, I'm sure it does something, but I'm kind of curious when you actually start measuring stuff, what it really looks like. Let's go to number 80. And 81. So these are the two different freak-haired pavonas. So there's 81. Kind of like a fuchsia-colored body with bright yellowish-green tentacles. So for everybody that's asking about international shipping, let me ask, do you guys actually have an import license? Because you need one. I mean, shipping international is a big old problem. And at some point I want to try it, but you know, expect to pay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and you actually need regulatory approval. All right, let's see, 82. It goes well beyond just putting coral in the mail. So this guy was one of the really, really unique things that we picked up from somewhere. Like, it might have been growing on the side of another coral or something like that. But it's a blue pavona, and it's starting to develop a green ring. One of the cooler corals that we got as a hitchhiker. All right. So next up, a second one. And it's kind of funny because we see like the algae on the plug, but then when you hit it with the actinic, the algae doesn't fluoresce, but the rim does. Kind of a neat effect. Does Tidal Gardens ship Chaeto if an order of another order of coral? We actually don't even have any Chaeto. 84. We did it one time, and I think the fish just ate it. It's a purple pavona. So green, the green variety and the purple variety form these flat cactus-like plates. That's one thing that we haven't done that well here, is keep up on all the different types of decorative macroalgae. Because that's one of the things that we did want to do, but unfortunately, we have like one tank that's doing pretty well with like this green branching variety, but I think that in a perfect world we would have like a multi-segmented system that each has its own culture going on. Because when you lump it all together, they start fighting, and well, not fighting so much as choking each other out. All right, let's go to 85. This is the green pavona that I mentioned. Okay. Number 86. This is a blue ridge coral. So these guys are a little bit odd for us right now. So yeah, thanks for focusing on that back one there. Do you see all those little hair thingies? I think those are a type of some sort of invert that's living in the coral. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a weird thing. And yeah, it kind of gives the entire coral a very different looking texture, and it just like how active the little feelers are. It's weird. So if somebody in chat knows what that is, just let everybody else know. But I mean, also just like look how many there are. It's like there's more of those than there are polyps. Okay, next up, 87. It will be a rainbow Montipora when we get there. And this is going to be an entire section of the encrusting montis. Steve Knight, I'm coming to Akron, Ohio on Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to try to stop by. Yep, just let us know separately and we'll try to set up an appointment. Monday's probably going to be like really busy because of shipping and everything. Tuesday might be a little bit better. So this is my favorite Monty, like the rainbow kind. We don't sell them very often because we're trying to grow them, and because when a coral looks like this, it doesn't take that much effort to sell it, to be perfectly honest. The thing that's difficult is propagating it fast enough to keep up with demand, and so unfortunately we had to like pump the brakes on selling them because we just deplete our stock so quickly on them. It's easily one of my favorites, if not the favorite. It looks wonderful. All right, 88. This is a sunset Montipora. Again, these are all the encrusting varieties. Okay, next is 89. Okay, number 90. So these purple sand dollars are one of like the faster growing ones that we've come across, and they are encrusting, but they also grow extremely like symmetrically. They almost form like this discus shape. Discus is just another word for round. They're very round, and yeah. So like we have a plate of them, and they almost all turn completely circular. Okay. Next up, number 91 is a green digitata. It's a branching kind. Okay, so video stopped. Okay, let me know when it comes back. All right. Yep, thanks guys. I had to, I just restart the stream and it's gone again. Is it gone again? Yes? No? I can do this all day. Okay. Back? Hopefully it's back. Good. Yep, don't know what's up with that. Okay. Hopefully you guys didn't miss anything. So we covered what was 90? 90 was the purple sand dollar, and 91 is the green digitata. Yeah. So
Go back to 90. Go back to the sand dollar.
could go back to the sand dollar? Okay, let's go back to 90. Didn't really miss much. Long story short, they're round. Yeah. So, okay, so let's quickly go to 91 and then on to 92. So, one more. Let's go to 92, which is going to be the orange setosa. 91, is that an easy coral to take care of? Yeah, pretty easy. You're in echo mode. Am I echoing now? Shouldn't be. So, there are about 5 different things in this chain that could go wrong. So whenever like a stream cuts out or something, there's a bunch of stuff that it could be. And in this case, I think it was the broadcasting software needed to restart the stream. I'm gonna go ahead and blame that one on no echo. Okay. Fun times in audiovisual land. All right, 93. Let's move on. This is a purple confusa. He's not that happy right now. He's completely closed. Don't know what's up with that. I wonder if like a fish came by and just nibbled on him or something. We have some boisterous fox faces. I have one boisterous fox face in there. And yeah. Ginger Gamers, that's Setosa photosynthetic, yes. I think all Montiporas are. I don't think I've ever heard of a non-photosynthetic Montipora. But yeah, you actually need to give it a good bit of light. Alright, 94. This is Montipora spongotes. Guys are like bumping into all kinds of stuff. Spongotes are kind of cool because their polyps are basically brown, but the base is a bright green, so it's a kind of a cool contrast. Psh, Ellery Wong, you may want to check your cable provider, and the bandwidth probably doesn't have enough nodes. Okay, I hate my cable provider, and that gets me started on my weekly rant about internet service providers. But there's like no amount of money that I can pay to get a higher upload speed. If I went with like the highest priced business internet, it's no different than residential. It's like 5 megabit max upload. So lame. However, we actually in there's like a neighboring township called Fairlawn, and they just broke ground on gigabit Ethernet, which is about 5 minutes from here. So it's 5 minutes. I guess that's like Everest. You know, it's like how 200 yards in Everest is like 25 miles. That might as well be on Mars. But the fact that there is gigabit Ethernet available somewhere in this city gives me some hope. Yeah, if I had 500, this stream would be a very different looking program. Because right now, the picture that you're seeing, it's probably 5% of the quality that the camera is actually able to kick out. All right, next up, 95. It's another Confusa. Man, these Confusas are just looking all kinds of bitter right now. How big are these? They're probably about 1 inch mark. Is Tidal Gardens ever thinking of getting to selling all reef supplies? We had a sister company called Advanced Reef Aquarium where we did that, and it kind of wasn't our thing. Like, it's a very different business, and I tried it. It didn't really go anywhere. But then again, I didn't exactly put that much time into it. So probably not in the near future. Next up, 96. It's a pink Stylophora. Okay, next up, 97. This is a Samacora. It's one of the oddball SPS corals out there. Not too many people have them. I guess it's kind of like a pavona, kind of different. Next up, number 98. We're into some of the Acropora now. We haven't really gotten many great new Acroporas in a really long time. It's one of the corals that we struggle with quite a lot, and for them to still be healthy at this time of the year, it's kind of a little bit of a coup, because for the longest time they wouldn't even survive at all. But we have a few different types that are doing pretty well. Number 99 is a really tiny frag of blue Acropora taraki. You can see how it's grown down onto the base there. 100 is a slightly larger one, so you can kind of see a little bit easier. This one also has grown nicely down onto the plug. Tater tot, are Samacora hard to care for? No, they're actually really, really easy. And I've only seen the green Samacora. They might come in different colors, but I've only seen that green. Okay. Next up, 101. It's another frog skin. You might want to lighten it up just a little bit. There you go. Better. And in focus. Much better. Oh yeah, actually I have seen other colors. There's actually like I think I've seen an orange one. Next up, 102. In a second. Next up, 103. Pretty bright green and purple one. Yeah, I would absolutely love to have faster internet. So many reasons, but definitely broadcasting a higher quality stream would be nice. Also, I'm curious. I'm always kind of toying with the idea of having guests on and having just people to talk with about different stuff. It's a little bit of a technical hurdle right now, but I'm thinking about doing it. Okay, it's getting toasty now. Okay, let's go into 104. Do you have any bird's nest? A few are coming up. Who's your provider? Yeah, Time Warner. Okay, next up 105. Time Warner, I think, is the second worst company rated in the US, right behind Comcast, another ISP. ISPs are the worst. Next up, 106. Here's a bird's nest. This is the Panape variety. So this one here looks mostly yellowish right now. However, if you hit it with a lot of light, it turns, consistently grown under a lot of light. It turns pink, like a bright pink. So yeah, depending on the coloration you're looking for, lighting plays a big part in it. All right, 107. It's a bird of paradise. Okay, let's go to 108. This is a true pink bird's nest. This stays a lot more consistent in color. Okay, 109. For some reason I thought we're almost done with the bird's nest, but this might be the last one. Okay, next up a green stylo. So Monnier, it's all about upload speed. Seriously though, somebody just bury fiber, please. That'd be great. 111 is a green Pseudo-Coronactis. Actually, I think the rest of these are just different types of Pseudo-Coronactis. Wow, that is crazy. I'm glad that we decided to use this big light. It's kind of interesting. Okay, 112. These guys are a little over, what, inch and a half? Yeah. About that size. Okay, go to 113. Just blowing through this. We're doing this because I need to use the bathroom. Okay, next up 114. Okay, so what I have not done yet was thank my Patreon peeps. So thanks Kevin, thanks Nate, Luis, and Jeff. I need to get more Patreon people. You guys can think of stuff that you'd like to do on Patreon. You have to let me know. I'm still learning that social network. I'm always up for figuring out some new creative things to do. What number are you going up to? I think we're gonna go up to 195. So we're coming down that last stretch. So anyway, like I said, I need to go use the bathroom, so I'll be right back. And I'm back. So I will go over. Anybody ever notice Stan always goes to the bathroom around the same time? Yeah, because there's actually a good, I guess, a stopping point for us where we kind of have to move the cart like an extra long distance, and that's usually like at a good break point. But I don't know. Give it like 20 minutes, I'm gonna be going right back. Okay, so perhaps I should just quickly go over the rules in case there's some new people that haven't seen this before. So you really want to have two sites open. You want to have YouTube open, just so you can do the chat. Assuming that you are watching live, it's 3:48 p.m. On May the 21st. So if you're watching that live, that's great. You can chat with us. So there's that aspect. And then you also want to have a different window open for tidalgardens.com and just like /live sale, and that'll take you to the live sale page. So right now it says tidalgardens.com/coral/live-sale.html. That's fine too, but /live sale will also just take you there. Or if you just go to tidalgardens.com and you can see like the little red blinking dot in the top left, click on that, take you to the same place. As far as shipping goes, we only ship to the US, and it's a flat rate $39.99, and it's free for orders over $250. If you happen to pay for shipping more than once, don't worry about it. We refund all the time. But just to be sure, to avoid that problem, you just select local pickup /live sale, and you won't be charged shipping. If you're under $250, just make sure you pay for shipping once at some point. Okay, and I guess like the last note is to get the item officially, you have to put it into the shopping cart and check out. Okay, so hopefully that covered all the bases. Okay, we are on 114, I believe. 115. Okay. So this guy is really interesting. Can you focus in on the inside green part? There we go. And maybe back up the camera just slightly if you can. I know it might be a little tight in there. But this is a tube anemone. And it is one of like the really, I don't know. I love how these things look. I mean, I like how active their tentacles are. And they have like really fast reflexes. So if I were to like go in there and touch it real fast, it'll retract everything in like a split second. It's and it just kind of like escape down its little tube that it forms. So you put these guys on the substrate, and they just look so neat. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of a downside to them. They're kind of good at catching and eating stuff. So if you've got small fish, it's always a concern that these guys could grab and eat something. So typically what we have is kind of like a separate aquarium where we have like things like large pseudo-coronactis, things like that really can't be kept with small fish and hermit crabs, snails, and things like that. And just kind of have just a place for potentially aggressive and predatory species like this. So anyways, 116. This is an orange-tipped clove. There's a couple polyps. Okay. Next up, 117. Some green star polyps. Yeah, as far as that anemone goes, the coolest one we've ever had, unfortunately it died, was a bright orange one. It looked like a safety cone that was lit from the inside. It was so bright. Alright, next up, 118. This is the second variety of a green star polyp. It doesn't have quite the big white center that the other ones do. Okay. 119. Little toadstool leather. These things, when they get larger, the polyps stay super long. So even in proportion to the full size of the head, it develops extremely long tentacles. Okay, 120. So this toadstool leather here has pink polyps and tentacles, but the base develops like a green color as well. So as this guy gets a lot larger, it's almost like this because like the actual I guess the small ends, the small terminal polyps there, they turn almost white. So you kind of get this white on green look. Next up, 121. So this neon green toadstool, it's instead of having like those like tan colored stalks, this is more of like a green on green. Okay, 122. So this leather actually has the polyps that are neon green, but this is a crown leather, so I think it might be a lobophytum. It's not like a sarcophyton that tends to grow more of a toadstool shape. This is more like a devil's hand shape. But this is from Australia, and when they get larger, it's almost like a cross between a devil's hand and a typical sarcophyton toadstool. It kind of has some characteristics of both, but I think it might be a lobophytum, if I had to guess. All right, moving on. 123. In Easter egg simularia. Let's move on to 124. These are the neon green Nephthias. Believe it or not, Nephthias at one point were almost an endangered species. That's kind of one of those success stories of propagation, is that they were kind of brought back to sustainability just through propagation. Because it was like a while ago, like, you know, close to 15 years ago, that they were like really threatened. Okay, next up, 125. It's a larger specimen. Okay, 126. These are some Kenya trees. The biggest downside to Kenya trees is just how fast they grow, and like how fast they start reproducing. They can take over a tank pretty easily. For whatever reason, I think that light is a little bit too bright. It's a little too much. Maybe have to go back to the little flashlight. Yeah. So let's go to 127. It's just the Kenya tree next to it. If someone out there is looking for a beginner coral, that's not a bad choice. They do grow really fast though, and they do take over pretty successfully a lot of times. Will Kenya trees grow faster than xenia? It's a good question. I think that they're pretty close. I would kind of think that xenia would grow faster. So what you're seeing here is the Red Sea pulsing xenia. Same with 129. I kind of wish that we could have large leather corals. We always have to cut ours down, because what invariably happens is if we don't cut it down, somebody always asks to buy it. And we throw a ridiculous number out there because we don't want to sell it. Like we want to have like a nice base to propagate from. And then we like to have one showpiece that we can say, okay, that's what it looks like when they get bigger and whatnot. But every now and again, even with me throwing that ridiculous price out there, somebody says, okay, I'll take it. I'm like, dang it. I didn't really ever want to sell that one. So nowadays, as soon as it looks like they can be cut, we cut them down. So they're always ugly looking. Or our big colonies, almost always ugly looking. We might have like one or two that look okay, but as soon as it gets to that point where we can like cut off like an inch, we start cutting. And we just try to get all the little guys growing as fast as possible, because like one day somebody's gonna make a ridiculous offer on a big guy and I'm gonna feel all sad. All right, so let's go to 130. This isn't really called a red xenia, but it kind of has that coloration. And this, as far as I know, doesn't really pulse. Okay. Next up, 131. Cabbage lizards are pretty interesting. They've never really been that popular, but they do really well, and most of the time they're pink. So the green coloration is kind of a nice change of pace. And like getting gigantic cabbage leathers can look really neat. And in general, you don't see it online very often anymore. Most people have stony coral dominated tanks. But if you see like a really nice soft coral tank, I mean, they're pretty spectacular. They're way easier. Okay. 132. This is going to be hard to fit on the screen, but it's a sea fan. If I remember, it's at least 6 to 8 inches in size. Yeah, I'm just looking at this thing and thinking it's going to be a headache to pack, but it's a pretty nice piece. So these sea fans, this one and the next one here, number 133, they are Caribbean, and the nice thing about Caribbean sea fans is that they're photosynthetic. We typically don't mess too much with the non-photosynthetic kind because, generally speaking, they just don't do well. So occasionally, we'll get one and we'll try to work with it, but they tend to struggle quite a bit. So I know some people have more success than others with them. A lot of it has to do with feeding, obviously, because a non-photosynthetic filter feeder has to have a constant food supply. And it's not just finding something that it will eat, but it also has to have the right nutritional stuff. So that's like the biggest obstacle, is just keeping it maintained without messing up the water quality, because just because of their shape, they're kind of designed to grab pretty much anything in the water. So what tends to happen is they start growing algae on them, and once that happens, they're toast. So long story short, since these guys are photosynthetic, they're much easier to keep. A pain for me to pack, but they're nice. 134. Do fans do well with high flow? Yes. There's an old video from 2012 that I did when I was diving in Mexico, and you can see just how much back and forth current that those receive. It's quite a lot. Like, you really can't replicate it in a home aquarium very easily at all. They can take way more flow than we can realistically give them. So we're into some of our mushrooms. Okay, 135. These guys look a little shrunken for some reason. This one in particular I liked because in addition to having like a bright green neon face, it has a yellow rim. But this one has contracted a little bit today. Let's go to 136. Okay, I was wondering if it was like a tank wide or something, but no, this one's fine. This is an orange rhodactis. Orange with a blue base. Yeah, bounce mushrooms. That's true. Very popular. Actually, mushrooms in general right now are as popular as they've ever been in my recollection. Okay, let's go on to 137. This is a purple and green rhodactis. Yeah, some people keep asking me like what my favorite coral is. I don't know if I have one. I used to really like blastomusas a lot. I liked elegances a lot. Elegances are kind of what really drew me into the hobby to begin with. But these days I'm not really sure. I don't know if I have a favorite. Yeah, I'm seeing in chat here like a lot of people like LPS. Some people like the soft corals. No crazy SPS heads right now though. Alright, let's go to 138. This is one of the cooler rhodactis out there. Atlantic Reef Conservation. We've created a 43,000 square foot coral reef. That's awesome. Rhodactis seems to curl at its edges. Sometimes I see that when there's like aggression going on. So rhodactises can have all different types of kind of shapes and textures, and you can kind of see that evidenced here. So this is the same genus as all of those previous rhodactises, but you can see just how wild these tentacles look in comparison. When this guy starts to replicate, they kind of replicate through pedal laceration. So they just like kind of pop out new mushrooms as their foot scoots along and rips off. They can get so dense that the whole rock looks like lawn. It looks like it's grass, but it's really just like 3 mushrooms or something like that. It's a very interesting effect. Yeah, Olga, that's that snowflake, that blue snowflake, Rhodactis, it's one of the rare ones. Oh, you're talking about an acro. Never mind. Okay, let's go to 140. Again, another example of like really different looking. I guess what are these things? These aren't polyps because the whole thing is a polyp. Nodules. I forget what the word is for those little polypy things on the face of a rhodactis. For some reason, I thought it started with an S. That's gonna bug me. Alright, next up, let's go to 141. Moving away from Rhodactis and onto Discosoma. These typically have like a more smooth appearance rather than like the furriness of Rhodactis. Any word on when you'll have interstellars? We are still trying to grow those out. Next vacation, you can come to Miami and come dive our reef. Planting is on us. Keep up the great work. I'd love to. Sounds like a lot of fun. Next up, 142. It's a candy striped discosoma. When we shine the light on it, so this kind of stinks. So either the big light is too bright or the flashlight is too weak. Can we try the big light? I'm curious to see if that would work any better. Because believe it or not, this mushroom 142 here, it fluoresces like a yellowish orange under actinic. Like what you're seeing there, that's more of that pink color, fluoresces an entirely different color. Yeah, not really seeing it. Okay. You'll have to use your imagination. All right, 143. This is a blue marble discosoma. Yeah, because I've gone on like a couple vacations lately, I must give the impression that I go on vacations often. I really don't. I would say the word is like a homebody, but in my case, it's more like a hermit. I really don't get out much. 144. How big would that candy stripe discosoma grow? They don't grow much more than 2 inches. Okay, so this is 144. It's another candy stripe. That one you can tell a little bit better with the fluorescence. You can kind of get that little bit of an orange tinge there. But probably nothing like this. Let's go to 145. So this this particular discosoma, it's orange, but it's developed some crazy like pink highlights. So if you're looking for something that's really out there in coloration, that's probably the one to get, if you're into discosoma, that is. Can Rhodactis and discosoma be near each other? Yes, but they kind of do fight a little bit. So this might just be me sounding bitter, but when LeBron James left the Cavaliers to go down to Miami, I had a boycott in Miami, like I wasn't going to go at all. And it was only when he came back that like Miami showed back up on my radar. I know it's so dumb because it's like I'm a huge like Cavalier fan, but I'm not like a big sports fan generally. But I was like real bitter about that for a long time. And LeBron James like literally lives like 5 minutes away from my house here. Okay, let's go to 146. Calvin McKenzie, sorry, we do not ship to Canada, only to the US. I've never been diving in the Florida Keys. I've been snorkeling, and it wasn't super great or anything. But I heard that there's other places that are really worth diving, like Marathon Key, for example. So I might have to like put that on my to-do list when it comes to dive spots. Because I've been diving in Mexico, and from what I understand, like the further south you go, the much better the diving is, and so I'm wondering if I saw the best of it already, but being like in Mexico, like near Ecuador and stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm still open to trying. Okay, let's go to 147. It's like a nice blood red discosoma. All right, see you, Louise. Thanks for joining. Okay, moving on to 148. So this, we started this whole live show out with a couple small strawberry pseudo-coronactises. This is a large pseudo-coronactis. So this is the large orange ball anemone. They call it an anemone. It's not really an anemone. This guy can grow monstrous. It's only about 2.5, 3 inches in size right now. But when we had a single one, long before we knew that we could cut it, we just kind of like left it alone. And it grew to the size of my laptop here. It was ginormous. And they're extremely good at catching stuff and eating stuff. So, yeah, you guys can look forward to having a monster like that in your tank one day. They're neat, but I would recommend getting like a species-specific thing just for them. Do they reproduce like other mushrooms? Not really, but you can cut them. Like we've cut them multiple times, and so they're actually pretty easy to propagate. Okay. So this is a curious guy. It's a really, really big Ricordia yuma, and I don't know what's up with his shape. It's like he's boomerang shaped. I mean, it doesn't look like it's receding from that part on the left there, but yeah, it's very weird. We certainly didn't try to cut that. It's like something kind of made him tuck in there. But this is a very large piece. I would say that it's yay big, so it's probably in diameter 4 inches across, which is quite large for a Ricordia yuma. And that's the last of the mushrooms, I believe. Because next up we have some Favias. like I have to sneeze. Oh, I hate that feeling. So Favia and favites. Favia, larger polyp, very slow growing. Favites tends to be a lot faster growing, smaller polyps. And you really don't want these guys touching one another. They'll sting pretty aggressively. Okay, next up 151. This is called the Dragon Soul. It's like kind of like a tricolored Favia. Okay. Next up 152. Can you guys hear that in the background? I'm sure you guys can hear that. There's like some ginormous like gravel crushing plant or something across the street, and they are making all kinds of noise. All right. So this guy is, I think we're calling this a pastel favites. Not really sure what this is. It's very curious. Even the shape is curious. Brian Beckman, I wish you sold clams. In some of our early live sales, we did have some clams on there, but we haven't had clams in over a year. Again, looking for a good supplier. Let's go to 153. So this particular kind of favites is interesting in that it actually has little flecks of yellow that fluoresce in it. 154 is another one. I think it might be slightly larger. Yeah, and you can kind of see more of like the reds and the yellows in this one. Okay, let's go to 155. This is a Dayglow favites. Yeah, kind of tough to see the color a little bit. A lot of pink and green in this one. And it has a lot of that speckle. Love Favia, but they get mad easily. I guess. I always kind of consider the middle of the road as far as LPS go, but they grow so slowly that if something does go wrong, I mean, it could lose, like a year's worth of growth overnight, and it might recover, but still you lost like a year's worth of growth. Okay, let's go to 156. This is okay. So war coral are usually red base, green polyp. So this is the inverse. Next is 157. I think a 6-inch anemone would eat a 6-line wrasse. I've never seen anything eat a 6-line wrasse. That's just me though. They usually just jump out of my tank after a while. 158. Again, this is a weird guy. I'm not really sure what this is. I'm not even sure if it's a favites. Like, the more I look at it, I mean, it almost looks like it could be a micromusa. They can be kind of similar, depending. So, it's curious. It's a pretty neat piece, but yeah, I'm not really sure what that is. Alright, let's go to 159. Yeah, unfortunately, like a 6-line wrasse, we lost one like a week ago. It decided to jump out of a 300-gallon tub. Somebody got banned. I'm telling you, like every show, somebody.
Wasn't adding anything. And I was just emoticons every single message.
All right, so what number are we going? Okay, let's go to 160. Scarlet and gray favites. Can they spawn? Unlikely. Spawning doesn't happen that often in home aquariums. Okay, let's go to 161. Orchid favites. Yeah, actually, I think that this time Michael got him. Like, Robbie's running the camera right now. They usually switch at halftime. And so, yeah. Because if it was Robbie, that guy would still be spamming. Robbie doesn't ban anybody.
I like smarter trees.
All right, 162.
Look at the plan like the last guy had
The show would be incomplete without a ban. It's like a Dothraki wedding. It's like somebody's got to die. Or like 4 people have to die. All right. So that's another really interesting little favites. I honestly have no clue where we got that, and I'm sure that when we did get it, it probably didn't look anything quite like that. Okay, next up, 163. Event Horizon Favia. Don't think so. Okay, next up, 164. It's a frag of our orange Leptastrea. Orange polyps, purple base. There's another type of Leptastrea that we have that's yellow and green, but I think that we're all out of that one now. For a while they looked really, really similar in our tanks, so it's hard to differentiate, but I think that they're officially all gone now. Alright, let's go to 165. It's another one. Not really sure why. Something is like bothering some of the corals in these tanks. I'm not really quite sure what it is, but they're like half closed. Okay, let's go to 166, which is a small blue Leptastrea, kind of like a baby blue color. Alright, so from 167 to the end of the show, we're going to be going through like some zoas and some paleothoa. So let's go hit 167. And I'm hoping that some of these guys are going to be open, because like yesterday when we were like making the labels and stuff like that, some of them weren't open, so I wasn't 100% sure what they were. My green star polyps has a white base. Is it normal? No, I don't think that's normal. It's usually purple most of the time. White makes me think that there's damage. Okay, 168. Yeah, these guys, they might be some sort of like cotton candy-ish thing. They were closed yesterday. They're not that much more open today. Kind of purplish. Not really sure. Alright, let's go to 169. Okay, so these are the cotton candy. So these are a lot more pink than the previous one I showed. Okay, 170. Do you have fire and ice zoas? I think we do, but I don't think they're on the live sale. Or if they are on the live sale, it slipped under, like I said, it slipped under my radar because some of them were closed yesterday when I was doing the labels. So there might be. It would be a surprise to both of us. $171. Pedro Paulo. Mushrooms? No, we passed those up about a half hour ago. 71. Closed. 72. Leonardo's. So, believe it or not, whatever was 71 I think was open, and this 172 was completely closed yesterday. And we kind of had a hunch that it was this guy here, but we might have just mislabeled it too. Can I put a zoophrag on a snail? Probably. Not sure how well it would do, but you could do it. 173. These are some Fiji rainbows. $174 are some emerald green pallies, and it's actually a mix because like the bottom ones look like purple death, so you're kind of getting both kinds. You can kind of see just like how different pallies look from zoas. I get that question a lot, like how can you tell the difference? There's a lot of, I guess, like official anatomy differences, but I'd be using the wrong terminology, so that wouldn't be helping you if I just started spouting off. But a big difference is if you look at the polyp on the far left, you see those like white spots on its neck. Those are pieces of substrate that it's incorporated into its flesh. Like, Paleothela would do that, zoas don't. But in general, I can just kind of like look at the shape and tell what the difference is. A lot of zoas do get called pallies. That's very common. So that would be a reason why it's a lot more confusing. All right, let's go to 175. These are some mellow yellow zoas. Already go through bird's nests? Yes. Bird's nests were right around 110-ish. Alright, 176. It's going to be a combo zoa. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that carries around zoas. I know like decorator crabs do that stuff. From what I understand, decorator crabs are not reef safe, but they kind of like grab stuff and stick it on them and walk around. So this is another combo, and again you can kind of see them side by side. The one on the left is a Paleothela, that's one of those green guys, and then the two on the right are a type of zoa. Okay, moving on, 177. These are some Sakura zoas. If you're ever wondering about naming, and I've said this in past shows and in different videos, but like I try to avoid naming at all cost. Like it's not that I have like a problem with the practice. It's not quite that. It's so much that like I'm like out of creativity and I have forgotten more names to zoas than I currently remember. So if I can like find an accepted name for something, I would much rather go with that than trying to like come up with my own name for something. So Sakuras are one of those that like I had nothing to do with, and I'm so grateful for that. Okay, next up, 178, Armor of God, also one that's well established, naming wise. So certain zoas that we have, some of them are actually pretty expensive. Like the stuff that we typically offer in a live sale, most of it's at a lower price point. But there's some really rare stuff that we do have. But where was I going with all that? I'm getting old. I'm just like losing my train of thought. But the best thing are the ones that people know from other places. So our two best sellers and are not anything like rare. It's like eagle eyes and radioactive dragon eyes are like by far our best selling zoas, and it's not even close. Just like what's our best selling coral overall? It's xenia, and it's not even close. Let's go to 179. So yeah, we have like these $400 acanthophilias and stuff, but given the choice between having corals like that and having xenia, it's not even close. Like the xenia sell way, way, way better, and they propagate themselves. So yeah, I mean sometimes it's just a matter of finding stuff that people are familiar with, and it's not really important to have like something that's rare that you name yourself that nobody knows what that is. And so anyway, I'm not into naming that much.
How can he be notified about the live sale about missing the first half? Like, is there a way of
There's a bunch of ways to be notified. So if you are currently on the live sale page, right at the top, there's a place where you can join the mailing list. And for every live sale, we schedule an email to go out when the live show begins. So if you just like check your email, it's like, hey, we're live right now. The other way is we also announce it on Facebook. Not a great thing because sometimes Facebook doesn't show it to all the different people that follow the page. We do it on Twitter, Instagram, and you can see upcoming events on YouTube itself. So between social media and the mailing list, that's probably the best idea. But generally speaking, we run it once a month, and if you just like poke in to the live sale page, oftentimes we'll say like the next live sale is going to be on, for example, June 18th, which is it's not officially on there yet, but chances are the next live sale is going to be June 18th. Okay. Yeah, let's go to 180. This is a combo rock between what looks like candy apple greens and Apostolopora. So yeah, usually like our combo zoas are like two different types of zoas. In this case, you have Apostolopora growing right next to a zoa. Yeah, it's usually like the last week or the second to the last week or Saturday of every month. It kind of changes, depends on schedule, and sometimes we do one for like a holiday. So we did 2 in the month of October one year because of Halloween, and that's the only other holiday we've ever done. So take it for what it's worth. 181. It's a combo with what looks like a pally and some Fruit Loops. Or no, not Fruit Loops. Sorry. These are Eagle Eyes. I think I'm crashing from my lack of sugar. I think I'm getting that sugar drop off now. How many of the zoas are from Indo and Pacific? I'd say that half of them are probably Indonesian and the other half are probably Fiji. Like we go out of our way to find Fiji zoanthids, and there are some Australians in there here and there, but Australians tend to be a lot more expensive. They don't propagate as easily. They grow slower. By far, my absolute favorite geography for zoas is Fiji. How do you get these combo pieces? Probably just neglect. A lot of our zoas just kind of grow on top of each other, and eventually you end up with stuff like this. Okay, let's go to 182. These are some pink plasma zoas. A couple of them are closed, but it looks like there's 5 polyps on this thing. Okay, let's go to 183. Let's hit the next one, please. No, it's okay. I'm muffled. Okay. Those are kind of cotton candy-ish too. 184 is another combo, which is the best sellers. It's the radioactive dragon eye, the green guys, and the eagle eye. And there might be something that might resemble a Green Bay Packer, which is kind of like the guy on the far right there. You see that little one, the little orange dot in the middle? Are compact fluorescent bad for anemones? No. Okay, let's go to 185, and this is the eagle eyes by themselves. Yeah, it's a really nice looking zoa. It's just one of the more common varieties. So people tend to think, oh, it's just common, but they're also relatively inexpensive. And like I said, because people are familiar with eagle eyes, I bet if you did a search right now for Google, in Google for eagle eyes zoas, I bet Tidal Gardens will show up pretty quickly. And that has more to do with it than anything, I think. Whereas if you looked up some rare coral, who knows what the heck is going to show up. Yeah, strangely the eagle eyes and the green dragon ones do grow together. A lot of them come from Vietnam together, and really like almost all the Vietnamese ones are those two varieties, but they're a little bit dusky in appearance compared to the ones from Fiji. Like there's a big difference in like the intensity and vibrancy of those colors. So that's kind of again why I like to go with the Fiji ones whenever possible. All right, let's go to 186. Again, not really sure. These are kind of similar to those metallic ones, which are kind of similar to those cotton candy ones. On 186? No. On that eagle eye. I don't know. At least it looks like 10-ish. Yeah. You can rewind the tape. Take a look. I'm not really sure. Okay, let's go to 187. It's a purple death. All right, 188. A larger purple death colony. Rastas, for whatever reason, tend to be one of the more difficult ones to get growing. There's like a few like Fruit Loops, Toucans, that sort of thing. I think they're harvested from the South China Sea, and those zoas they import very poorly. So pretty much you're getting them only from other hobbyists, and the closer they were to the ocean, they tend to be more challenging. Okay, 189. This is another pink plasma. This guy's much more open. Okay. Let's go to 190. These are some long tentacled green pallies. And paleotho are way easier to feed than zoas, so I suspect they'll grow a lot faster in general. Okay, 191. Don't know what these are called. If I did know at one time, I've definitely forgotten now. There's a site that does has like a collection of names. It's called Zoa ID. Sometimes we look through there, but generally speaking, we never find like a perfect match. So, you might be able to find a better match somewhere. Don't know what these are called. Okay, 192. These are some more rainbow zoas. And the one in front, of course, is eating something, so he's not showing up. But the one on the right looks pretty neat. Yeah, there you go. Can focus on the one in the back. Perfect. Okay, almost to the end. So we've gone for 2 hours and 40 minutes up to this point, but we've got 3 left. Ooh. Okay. So these are some Smurfette zoas. These are kind of interesting because they not only do they have the blue face, because blue is a hard color to find in reef aquariums in general, but on top of that they kind of have green highlights on their tentacles. Yeah, how many people do work here? So my parents help out. Sean, Michael, Luke, Robbie. I feel bad if I was forgetting somebody, but I think that's it. Yeah. So, if you want to apply, send me your resume or something. I pay very poorly, and it's a hostile work environment. That too. Okay. Next up, 194. These are some Rastas. Yeah, I love how Rastas look. Again, I think Rastas are from... Rastas might be from South China. Okay. Last one are some purple passion zoas. And that does it. We did it in under 3 hours. I'm kind of surprised. So our biggest live sale I think was like 200 and something. So and that went just right around 3 hours. So yeah, I think we made pretty decent time. Let's see. Again, thanks to the Patreon folks, and thanks to you guys for joining. Hope you had a good time. Yeah, I think I noticed an aptasia there on the Rastas. We have to get that guy dug out. Bruce Hansen will work for frags. You know what? That's currently what Robbie does. That's currently what Luke does. So that is not out of the ordinary. And Sean does a lot of stuff for trade-in. So he's able to make up a lot of it back though, because number one, he works here, and then number two, he's also like does personal training. So yeah, he gets a lot of cool stuff from here. But yeah, I mean, if you're really good, I'll take a look at a resume. That never hurts. Yeah, only 3 hours, only 1 potty break. That's true. I need to do something about that. But anyways, thanks so much for joining, and yeah, until next time. See you guys. Let's see.